Okay, well, we wanted to make some time at the beginning of the conference to help you to get to know us as the speakers a little bit better. It always helps to hear a little bit about someone's context and situation when they're teaching, when they're sharing with others. So I'm going to invite up Craig, Jason, and Tehila to join me up here. And our friends Nathaniel and Gabriel are just going to get some chairs. Gabriel is very excited about this job. And he knows that no one can actually see him because he's wearing black. That's what's the most exciting thing. He's convinced. So while they're coming up, I thought we'd have a bit of fun. And so I'm going to firstly give you a bit of random trivia about each one of us. And I want you to have a little think about what person you think it might relate to. 4 pieces of random trivia. So here's the first one. One of us used to drive their fiancé home on a jet ski, and one time ran out of petrol and had to be helped by a passing boat. One of us got married twice in 3 days. One of us used to wear a Superman outfit under our school uniform. And one of us used to be a country music DJ. So, just briefly, let's give some answers. So we'll start off with one of us used to drive our fiancé home on a jet ski and broke down and had to get helped. So how many people think it was Craig? How about Jason? Tehila? Me? Someone must have seen me driving a jet ski. Okay, it was actually Jason. Yep. So let's talk about the person who got married twice in 3 days. Do you think that was me? Who thinks it was Craig? Who thinks it was Tehila? Who was it? It was Tehila. You know what, Tehila, you have to explain though. Because you haven't told me anything apart from that, and I got the email, oh well, trust the Lord, it's going to come out at some point. So what's the story behind this, Tehila?
Well, we're from Israel, and in Israel, a Christian wedding isn't recognized, so we had to get married by a rabbi. So we had our rabbinical wedding on the Friday, and then our Christian wedding a couple of days after that, which we consider our real wedding. So we got married twice in 3 days.
There you go. And Jason, you've never actually told me about this either, so I want to know about the jet ski thing here. So.
When my wife Clara and I were engaged, I was living up in Marlborough, in the Marlborough Sounds, and there was no road access to where we were living. It was the only way you could get there was by a 45-minute boat ride or a 20-minute jet ski ride. And so when I'd go and bring my fiancée out to spend some time together and drive her back, it would be on a jet ski, except for one time I completely, probably head over heels in love, forgot to fill up the tank properly, and we were out there at literally sea in the Sounds, just waiting for a boat to come by, which they did, and they didn't let us on board, but they tied a rope from our jet ski to the boat, and so I had to sort of swallow my pride as we came into the wharf area, sitting on the back with my fiancée. So that was kind of it. Our marriage got off to a rocky start.
How romantic. Okay, so one of us used to wear a Superman outfit under the school uniform here. Who thinks it was Craig? Who thinks it was me? You're right, it was me. And I'm proud of it, you know. The funny thing is, I honestly thought... He
still wears it.
There it is. I honestly thought that if I saw one of the bullies hurting someone, if I really needed to, if I ripped my shirt open, I would be able to fly. Yeah. I was only about 16 or something like that. So that means that we must introduce our country music DJ here as Pastor Craig Houston. Can you tell us a bit about this, you country music DJ, you?
This is Craig Houston from 1230 KVAS Astoria. I was in high school and I had worked at right next to the radio station, and got a gig doing a Saturday night radio program all through the last couple years of my high school. So
I haven't prepared you for this, but can you do like a weather report? Did you used to do those? Because I think they're awesome. But...
I didn't.
Oh, okay. Oh, you got out of it.
Honestly, what I would do is play songs like this song was dedicated to my girlfriend.
Wow.
I married her, so that's
great. Okay. We thought we'd have a bit of fun. One of the things that is very important to us is that collectively, we're not here sharing with you this weekend in any way, shape, or form because we feel like we all live perfectly grace-paced lives all the time, and we never have crazy-paced lives, or that we've got everything together. Not at all. We want you to know that we are in the same battles, we're running in the same races, and sometimes it's actually the ways that we've failed that give us something to share and encourage you with. So we just really want to make that very clear. One thing we are all united on is that in Christ, there is hope. And he is the one who can get us through, and his word is sufficient for all our needs. So what we're going to do is just share a little bit briefly about our life situation right now to give some perspective. And I'm going to ask the same of Jason Tehila, and then we're going to have an extended time, a little sort of interview, talking with Craig as our visitor to get to know him a bit better. So I'll just start off with my wife, Becky, and I live in Leaston, where we homeschool our 8 children. And until recently, I was working as a casual paramedic with St. John, as well as my work as a pastor, running Eternal Purpose Ministry and writing music from home. So the phrase crazy paced is definitely something that would define our lives at times. And at times, life can get busy and hectic. And yet what we have been learning by God's grace over the years, more and more about prioritizing his priorities, is that you're not always blessed for obedience. You're sometimes blessed in obedience. You're sometimes blessed in the things that God calls you to do. And so he's helping us to really, I guess, not take ourselves too seriously at times. He's helping us to understand and embrace the gospel, that we're not trying to perform for other people, that we can begin our day knowing that we haven't got to do all this stuff throughout the day to find any worth or value, that comes from Christ. But there's times that are hectic. Now, even in the lead up to this conference is perfect because there's numerous times where someone said, how was your day? That question, are you busy? And I'm trying to, how do I explain to someone, well, I'm crazy busy preparing a conference. What's the conference about? Oh, just, Christian stuff. Yet, we were busy and life was full. But again, by God's grace, we've already experienced that he's carried us through. And don't get me wrong, there have been times where the wheels have fallen off and it's been, stressful and crazy. But we've known, as we're sharing this weekend, Hebrews 12, 1-3, there's always a solution, that is to consider Christ. And when we do that as a family, when the wheels fall off, when we get it wrong, we have to say sorry to one another. We can consider Christ in the gospel. We ask forgiveness. We get up again knowing that we're not trying to perform to please God. And by his grace, we move on. And so that's a little bit about our situation, busy family life, and by God's grace, hoping that we can have more of a grace-based experience. So we're going to go to Tehila next. And so Tehila, what's a little bit about your family dynamic and how does it work for you trying to live a grace-paced life in your crazy-paced world?
Okay. We're blessed to live in Dunedin with our 5 children. Life can get very busy, and I must say, I don't know about your children, but our children love to be busy. And when we're not busy enough, they remind us that, we want to be busy, So we really have to, my husband and I have to really stand up and think what is best for our family. And we reevaluate every 6 months approximately what the children are doing. Comes in quite well with all the new sports seasons, soccer season, tennis season, whatever it is. And we just benefiting from what they're doing, and is there something that's working for our family? So that reevaluation every few months is very helpful. Another thing is that we really limit our internet usage, especially for our children, so they don't have social media accounts and things like that. I'll tell you when the most grace-paced year of our life was. And that was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we cut off the internet in our home. Our pace of life just slowed down so much. It's crazy to think about how much goes into our brain from the internet, just how much we need to think about and how much we see and take into our minds. And when you cut that off, and we were still going to the library for things that we needed to use the internet there, but when you cut off just that constant input into your life of the internet, just things slow down so much, and you have time actually to finish conversations and to just be and not always be checking stuff. And also just even limiting friends for our children. I once heard an older woman say this, and I was horrified. I mean, socialization and all that, you know. But it's been one of the best things we've done, just really evaluating the influence that is coming from the outside into our home via friends, even either home educating friends, because different families have different paces, different ways of doing things, and you know, you really have to guard your home to reflect the values and the pace that you feel is best for your family. So, yeah, our children do have friends, but we're quite, you know, observant of what's coming in through those friends. And another thing, lastly, is just having kind of family traditions or family times. And for example, we're Jewish, so the Sabbath, Friday evening, is just a family time for us. It's a non-negotiable time. So even though there is chess club on that evening and our children would love to join that, that's just been something that we haven't done. We haven't sent our children to that because it coincides with a family time. And that slows life down too, when you have certain times and certain traditions in your family where they're non-negotiables and you don't just run around. So that limits the crazy pace as well.
Thanks, Tehila. Jason, what's your dynamic in the situation at the moment?
Well, I'm married to my wife, Claret. We have 5 children, 11 years and under.
And a jet ski?
No jet ski at the moment. But we do have another baby on the way, so there you go. So due November. So yeah, life is busy. We're just between raising a family with 5, soon to be 6 kids, pastoring full time. Life is just full. You know, there doesn't seem to really be a dull moment. There's not too many times it feels like where I've just got time to think, oh, what am I going to do now? I'm bored. I don't know what that means. as many of you do as well. My life oftentimes feels crazy paced, but what I can say is that part of that is just because life is busy. and the more children you have, the more responsibilities you have, life just becomes busier and busier. But I can say that there is quite a bit of extra busyness that gets put on, which is simply self-inflicted. And when I analyze that a little bit to kind of think, well, why is that? Why do I enjoy inflicting myself with more busyness and more stuff? And I think it comes down to a lot of times enjoying the novel, enjoying the new. I want something new. I want something to catch my attention. The day in and the day out stuff can, I know is important, but sometimes wanting a little bit, something new and extra to pop on top of that. But what happens is that the new, it loses its shine pretty quickly, and all of a sudden it's another responsibility, and then looking for the next new thing, and it kind of waits upon wait upon wait upon wait, and at times I'm in the process of learning that, of trying to learn, well, what are the things that God has for me as a father, as a husband, as a pastor, as a Christian, really trying to work through what exactly does God have for me, and then sticking to those things and doing them really well, and seeking to find my joy in doing the main things well and being effective in those main things as well, without feeling guilty that I should be doing more, or without taking on the expectations of other people who may say, well, you should be doing this, and that on top of what you're already doing, but really going through a season of really trying to refine and say, well, what does God want for me? And what does God want for my wife? What does he want for our marriage and for our family? Trying to stick to that, try to do it well, and do the main things well, finding often that a lot of the novel things, a lot of the things which have a shine to them at first, when you pursue those or you add those on top of everything else that you're doing, well, they don't really provide lasting satisfaction, and really, in the big scheme of things, they're not really as meaningful as the things that perhaps don't have that shine all of the time as well. And so really trying to be faithful to what God has for me is what I'm learning at the moment. How am I doing with that? You can ask my wife, ask my children, but certainly we want to be productive as a family. And one of the things, if you ask my children, one of the things is I'm walking from my office, I'm based at home, and walk through to the kitchen to get a coffee in between study breaks or something. A phrase I'm often saying is, so what are you doing? And they tell me, and then the next question is, are you being productive? And so we are a family that seeks to be productive as a family, but we just want to try our best to try to focus on the right things, not to just be productive in general, but being productive in the things that God has called us to. So that's kind of our journey at the moment.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason and Tehila. We're looking forward to hearing what you both have to share with us tomorrow.